Welcome to my review of Season 5 of The Shield. If you're new to the channel, be sure to check out my reviews of the show's previous seasons. Season 5 is very interesting. I've always heard from fans of the show that the first two or three seasons are great. Season 4 is a bit of a stopgap that does things a bit different, but things really take off with Season 5, with an interconnectivity between the final 3 seasons taking place. Certainly, the show feels a lot more serialized than it once did. Season 5 more so than anything that came before. It goes back to what I said in my review of Season 1, where while I was watching, I was thinking, this is good, but it's very episodic. Is there going to be a larger narrative with all the events that we see the main characters involved in? Will they build to something more than just a new case every week? And we've definitely reached the point where the focus on the strike team storylines and the noose that hangs around their heads takes centre stage and has solidly become the main narrative drive of the show after a 4-season build. But cleverly, it's not a case that the show has pushed previous seasons aside for a new single long focused storyline, but we've come full circle, with events in the very first episode of the show being a major catalyst in Season 5. Forrest Whitaker joins the cast as Internal Affairs Lieutenant John Kavanagh, who is determined to bring down Vic Mackey and his corrupt strike team, using the murder of Terry Crowley, that's the cop who was investigating Vic in the very first episode for Acevedo, as the formulation of his investigation. In the previous season, Lem had taken a drug dealer's bag of heroin as a potential bargaining chip and didn't log it into evidence. Emolia Melendez, who's been running information for Vic, witnessed this and reported it, and it's this that Kavanagh uses to blackmail Lem into wearing a wire against the rest of the strike team, threatening him with a prison sentence, demanding that he gets Vic and his crew talking about the Crowley murder. Lem stages a fight between him and Mackey where he intentionally screws up the wire and comes clean to Vic, unbeknownst to the listening Kavanagh, and subsequently the strike team try to find a way to save Lem from a prison sentence and get Kavanagh off their back. The Crowley stuff brings up all sorts of internal issues within the strike team, as of course it's only Vic and Shane who actually carried out the killing and know about it. So as well as the fact that there's pressure from Kavanagh, and Acevedo too, for Lem to turn on Vic, Lem has the added hammer drop of realising his friends might not be all they appear to be. It was really interesting seeing the strike team deal with the fact that Lem's walking around wearing a wire, them having to tiptoe around him, he having to pretend to take a shit and then give Ronnie his wire whenever Vic needed to speak to him in private without Kavanagh listening in. There's many tricks that came to my mind that I thought Vic could do once he knew, like typing or writing down conversations with Lem instead of speaking, and it was great seeing all this actually happen. In other words, the characters being clever and not acting dumb, and yet it still doesn't work, because Kavanagh is shrewd enough to work out that somehow the strike team know Lem is wired up. There's a few other minor storylines happening, though Kavanagh's investigation is for sure the meat of the season. An incompetent but distractingly pretty rookie cop, Tina, struggles to avoid making mistakes whilst constantly getting stern talking tos from her partner Julian. Speaking of distracting, I could not get over how much Vic's new lawyer looked like Casemiro, a footballer who plays for my favourite team, Man United. She literally looks like a female version of him. Anyway, Danny is now working a desk job as she's pregnant, with the actress's real-life pregnancy being written into the script and the barn playfully forming an office pool to guess who the father is, though it's strongly implied that Vic is the dad. Dutch suspects that Claudette is suffering from some kind of illness, which is affecting her ability to work, and the new acting captain, after Rawlings was fired in Season 4, is bizarrely Steve Billings, who can act as a yes-man to the higher-ups, counting down his days till retirement as he bumbles his way through the working day, providing mild entertainment and laughs for us, contrasting with the more darker moments of the show. Oh, and they brought back the original recap music as well. If you want my quick and easy opinion of Season 5, I think, so far, it's easily the best season in the show. That's not to say the previous seasons aren't also brilliant, each has its own quality, and we've just come off the back of a very entertaining season. But Season 5 really does, as promised, take it to another level. The drama and tension is feverishly engaging, and the pace is erratic, and it's all anchored by this big, chunky storyline of the IID guy going after the strike team. The show has rejigged and reorganized itself into a format that really works for me, with Vic, his guys, and Kavanagh taking centre stage, with smaller storylines and one-off cases weaving in and out. I want to just take a moment to talk about Forrest Whitaker as Lieutenant Kavanagh. I thought he was brilliant. Whitaker was a fantastic addition to the Shield, and there's just something about this guy, his presence, his first scene, where you know things have gotten just a lot more serious for Vic and his team, and he's going to launch a far tougher war for Mackey than Aceveda could ever muster. Whitaker has a style of acting in the show where other characters like Aceveda or Lem can never quite tell where they stand with him. Is he being serious? Is he being sarcastic? Is he a bit of a playful teddy bear? Or is he sinisterly playing with his food before dropping down a hammer? Sometimes he comes off as a bit slow. Sometimes he's razor sharp. Sometimes he plays the fool. Sometimes he's got his hand on your shoulder as the friend you always wanted. And in others, he's readying a set of cuffs. Kavanaugh is a highly manipulative individual who pulls off so many psychological moves to get what he wants out of others. You know, you see all these cringe Sigma male grindset videos on YouTube of how to be a master of manipulation. YouTubers talking about their knowledge of the 48 laws of power when they probably have never even finished reading the book, or are adamant that Thomas Shelby is a boss because he walks a certain way. But those guys need to shine a spotlight on Kavanagh. There's a perfectly Machiavellian character sitting right here in the show who's definitely worth studying. He acts so casual and chumpy, and that makes him all the more unnerving. It's like the chewing gum thing. He repeatedly offers Aceveda gum, leaving his hand out, but Aceveda doesn't bite. And Kavanagh tells him that people who take the gum are usually more susceptible to fold under questioning. We later see him do the same trick with Vic's ex, and she takes it. In the moment, it doesn't seem like anything untoward for her, but we, of course, are in on the secret. But it's just one secret. So the question arises as to how many of Kavanagh's eccentric tics and quirks are just his odd personality, and how much is him playing menacing games with everyone around him. Forrest Whitaker is a big part of why Season 5 towers above previous seasons. This show came out the same year Whitaker won an Academy Award. He was at the top of his game during this period. He gives a terrific performance, and it's the second time a major film actor at a higher caliber has joined the show and run rings around the rest of the cast. And he's given a great character to play, one whose heart is probably in the right place. After all, what's he doing throughout the season? Trying to take down cop killers and corrupt officers. And yet he's so sleazy, he's such a party pooper. He rubs you up the wrong way in such a manner that the show has us rooting for Vic and his guys to escape his clutches, when really, if we take a step back and look at things more objectively, isn't he technically the good guy? In any case, Kavanagh is a fantastic foil for Mackey. One could even argue they're an inverse of each other in a manner of speaking. Kavanagh isn't exactly a straight arrow who plays by the rules, much as he first appears to be. Yes, we can see he's driven, but over the course of the season, as Kavanagh becomes equally more frustrated as well as desperate to nab Vic, who seems to find ways to just about claw his way out of certain doom, Kavanagh's methods become more unhinged and below the belt. He becomes a kind of Ahab chasing the white whale. Even early on, when you see him get friendly with Vic's former wife, pretending to be a parent at the school, you just know this is going to be a guy that's going to cover every base to try and take Mackey down. Whitaker has some fantastic moments in the show, full of high drama and intense moments, like when he walks in on Vic talking to the informant, Emolia, his eventual arrest of Lem in front of everyone in the barn, or his monologue about Vic pissing on everyone, one of my favourite moments in the show. This guy, he's pissing on all of us. What does it taste like? Because it tastes like piss to me. And one of his major low moments is after Vic manages to find a way out of one of his schemes. Mackey lets Kavanagh in on the fact that he slept with his ex-wife, leading Kavanagh to pay Mackey's ex-wife a visit. It isn't really clear what he wanted to do. I don't think even he really formulated a game plan. But his pathetic attempt to seduce Mackey's ex was embarrassing to watch, and another showcase of Whitaker's brilliance. It's early days, but I think Kavanagh has steamrolled his way into being my favourite character on the show. He was just so much fun to watch. Season 5 feels more fast-paced than usual, if that's even possible with The Shield. There's a few reasons. It's the shortest season so far, at 11 episodes, but the plots are wrapped up pretty quick, and the show moves on to the next one. It's like Lem being wired up. Initially, I thought that this was going to be a season of him struggling, being hit from all angles, pressured by internal affairs, not wanting to rat on his friends, a tug of war for his moral compass. But the show speedruns this and has Lem tell Mackey practically the first chance he gets. And after that, I thought the whole thing with the strike teams trying to save Lem from the wire would be stretched out for most of the season, but this plot is pretty much concluded by episode 5 or 6, after which, having had the Lem wire plan blow up in his face, Kavanaugh switches up tactics and literally sets up shop in the barn, proudly displaying Vic's face next to the dead cop in his office. That storyline could easily have been the start of a new season, but instead, season 5 wastes no time at all, just going and going and going, and it's ridiculously entertaining. I'm not someone who binge watches, but without meaning to, I ended up watching about 4 or 5 episodes in a single day and only stopped because it was like 3 o'clock in the morning. I took note of this season having several scenes that could easily have gone in, say, soppier directions, but actively chose not to, for the betterment of the show in my opinion. Like, there's one part where Claudette is struggling to go through an interrogation with a suspected serial killer. She admits to Dutch that she can't do it, her health isn't there, she can't continue. She starts breaking down, and it seems perfectly set up for Dutch to say something like, "Sure, you go and have a lie down, I'll take it from here." But instead he grills her, telling her if she doesn't get the confession out of the perp, he'll walk and kill again. And essentially, she needs to pick up her bootstraps and get back in there. Another scene has a regretful Imolia Melendez come to Vic with sorrow, asking to be taken on as an informant again. The actress really sells it. You really feel like Vic's gonna raise his arms and give her a hug. Instead, he grips her firmly and declares that his friend's life was ruined because he showed her mercy, and he tells her to leave. Kavanagh has an ice-cold moment too, right at the end of the season, after you know what happens. Instead of consoling Vic, an acknowledgement nod perhaps, in front of all the cops, he asks, "Are you happy now, Detective Mackey?" Also, there's stuff in the show that's so horrific, but it all feels so normalized that I think it might have actually skewered my perception as to what exactly is gruesome in movies and shows, desensitized me to an extent where it's affecting my viewing of other things. Case in point, I watched a film called The Proposition in between watching episodes of The Shield, and a major revelation in the movie, something that's kept a mystery for a while with you only knowing that a great crime was committed, was essentially that a character was raped by another and then killed. And I remember thinking, yeah, that's bad, but was that it? I thought it was going to be some kind of massacre, children violated or something. And I think my nonchalant reaction was because I was watching a season of a show where a baby had been cut out of a woman's stomach and then crushed. A junkie shot his own 2-year-old. Sick crap like that. Spoilers for season 5 now. And of course, the most major event that occurs is the death of Lem. Unfortunately for me, it was kind of spoiled that he would not be in the show after this. So I always had this thing hanging over my head that Lem is gonna die by the end of the season. I thought it would be related to the wire in some way. Maybe the stress does something to his ulcer. Maybe in a repeat of the first episode, Vic kills a cop who threatens his freedom. But in the season finale, when Vic and Ronnie have to lose their tails and only Shane is able to make it to meet Lem, I pretty much worked out what was going to happen. But it didn't take away from the emotional weight of the scene. In fact, I think the show wanted you to have it in the back of your mind that removing Lem from the equation had crossed Shane's mind. Walter Goggins knocks it out of the park, and there's an added layer of cruelty and trauma, with Lem not immediately dying from the blast, but instead having time to contemplate what is happening. The entire saga in the last 4 or 5 episodes or so, with the strike team and the new lawyer trying to keep Lem out of prison, was nerve-wracking. So many faulty ideas, so many harebrained schemes, Kavanagh circling around the team, and Shane eventually doing what probably only he was capable of. It's like the show intentionally tried to keep just about pulling Lem out of the pit every time, giving you that hope for a happy ending, until it literally blows up in his face. Although one thing I would say, not to put a downer on this excellent season, but the initial idea of Lem facing prosecution over the heroin is something I've always had question marks over. Granted, Kavanagh could get the charges sexed up or something, but all Lem did was never turning the brick into evidence, and it never made it onto the street. There's a stretch between that and intent to distribute. Maybe he'd lose his job, but would he really be facing like 7 years just for that? In any case, it's still TV, it's entertainment. I think The Wire, being the first cop show I ever watched seriously, has given me a yearning for gritty realism in shows that never really goes away. So there you have it. My thoughts on Season 5 of The Shield. A major level up in my opinion, and I'm keen to see where it all leads to. What do you make of Season 5 of the show? Let me know in the comments section below. Subscribe to the channel, and thanks for watching.